Etheria Restart. Today we're going to be talking about the SR characters that literally carried me the first couple of months of me playing this game. So I was fortunate enough to build at least one character of every element. So we're going to go over some of those characters and maybe a couple others that I wanted to use but didn't for one reason or another. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to look into
no photos,
this
please.
list of characters. I'm going to sort it by SRs or filter it.
It's been
just so I can
time
get to one faster. We're just going to start from the top here. I believe this is the top of my SRs.
But hey,
so this character right here. Now I did do a video on this character recently because this is a character that can be awakened, which I actually did with this character. But this is a character that I did use a lot before the whole awakening thing even existed. Part of the reason that I liked using this character in the old days is because she was kind of my offensive / defensive support character. She has an ability that basically increases the attack and defense of all of your allies, so I really relied on that heavily to, increase our DPS by a bit while somewhat keeping us alive. That was the main reason I used her. Now, obviously, she has other abilities that were also useful, like her dispel ability and her, effect accuracy increase. But for the most part, I mainly use her for skill 3 to boost her attack and defense. And I basically wanted to build her based off of speed so that she could take as many actions as possible to keep this buff going. That's kind of the whole idea with me using her. So I did use her a lot in the early days. One thing I want to say is that SRs are a lot easier to build because purple lattices are everywhere. You can get them in almost every event. And then of course the weekly shops have them as well. So that's why I literally relied on SRs for the first couple of months, is because gold SRs, as a lot of you know, are just hard to come by. Our second character that I want to talk about, I'm not going to spend too long on all these characters. This character right here was my main DPS for the longest time. Now keep in mind that these builds were old builds from like the beginning, so a lot of my shells and modules were not so great, but in terms of just fully building them, they were at least maxed out. Now in terms of getting duplicates, not all of these characters were duped, and I didn't focus on duping these characters either too much. The main thing that I wanted to do was just to level them and get them enough modules to at least get a few base bonuses. But again, I wasn't like grinding hardcore to get the best modules and shells at the time, so a lot of these builds are going to look scuffed. But despite the limitations I had back then, I was still able to clear content. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's what's important. You build these characters and use them until you're able to build better characters. But honestly, like, her ability to just like hit single target really hard was pretty cool. On top of that, she has a damage over time ability as well. I believe it's a bleed that she has on a couple of her skills. So that helps too. Maybe it's, bleeding on the skill 3, and I think she has it on skill 1. Yeah, she can do it on skill 1 potentially. And I didn't really build her for effect accuracy. Like, she was able to really get her debuffs on very consistently against bosses. So she was so my number one like DPS in this entire game in the early part before I started building actual strong characters. So if you're new to the game and you wanted to know who to start with as far as damage, she's not a bad start. Now, another thing that I need to say that I should have said at the beginning of this video, and I'm sorry for not saying it earlier, I'm a waifu collector, so I'm not going to talk about any of the male characters or husbandos. I only play waifus and that's it. So sure, you can probably think of some male characters that are a lot better than her, but I only play waifus. So if you're a waifu collector like me, this is more of the kind of video for you. So as I was saying, my main DPS was this character. She carried me for a long time. Even if the enemy was, strong against blue, I still used her because sometimes she would help. And if she wasn't doing enough, then thankfully I had other characters of elements that could at least help. Speaking of characters that can help, I did use her for a little bit. Another character that can deal damage, not as much as the previous, but she can do some damage. She does have some debuff abilities as well. So she was kind of a side DPS, if nothing else. But I think she was, worth using. Do I recommend using her? Not particularly, but she worked for me. So, that's what it was. She did good enough. So she was a side DPS that can do some debuffs as well, but not as strong as her. Like, she is 100% the strongest, at least for me. But she's still worth building for the time that, it was. But I don't have really a whole lot to say about her. She just can do some damage, and she does do some debuffs.
Pointless fights.
Now here's a character that, on the sustain side, really, carried the team. So this is a yellow or premium SR, and what she does is she can keep your parties from getting wiped in the very beginning. So if you're playing against some boss that just one-shots you, like you're doing a challenge thing, she is someone you can put in your party that can prevent you from just dying instantly. So if your characters are not fast enough to do this stuff before them, she can help keep your team alive, at least in the beginning. But what she also does is she can average out everyone's HP. So if one of your characters is very low, she can basically even everyone's character, all your characters on the team, which means that your character that's almost dead can get some HP. And she can heal a little bit over time, but I don't necessarily consider her a healer, so to speak. She's just a support character that can keep your team alive. I relied on her heavily too. She's really good. And I would argue that she's even good now. I think that even if you have an account that's built up pretty well, I think there are certain fights you can get into where I think she will come in handy. So this is the one SR I will say that you will probably use even in the future. I don't think there's really anyone that replaces her for what all she can do, because her skill 3 kind of activates when she first starts when you fully build her. So yeah, she's really, really good. Arguably my favorite SR in the game because of how well she can protect her team.
Got a mission?
Here's a character that I always consider my favorite waifu just in design, but I did also use her as my tank counter character because she does do damage based off of her defense. She's a defense scaling character. Of course, I didn't have the right modules to make her much better because I could have done a lot better. At least I can do a lot better now with her. But back in the day, this was good enough to get me by. Especially using the this particular shell, which can provide a shield to her and another character. But she also can help in terms of counter and all that. So just all together, waifu that I liked design wise, and she was a decent counter tank kind of character. I mean, that's the best I can really tell you. But for the most part, I built her because I liked her design. And the last SR that I actively used, and the last one that I used really in the later part of before I got everyone built, was this character right here. When I first saw this was one of the new SRs that was coming out at the time, I could already tell she had a lot of potential, and she didn't disappoint. Basically, she's a debuffer, but at the same time, she can also do some buffing for you as well. So just real quick, the third skill, which to me was one of the most important, so whenever she does her damage, she can do vulnerability on the enemy, and then apply to speed up for your allies. So giving your allies a speed boost is actually really strong for an SR. So that in itself was pretty strong, but her other skills are not bad either. Like if you look at her second skill, of course she's dealing damage, but each attack heals the ally. I'm sorry, they can heal the ally with the highest attack for 12% of their max HP. So she can heal as well. I wouldn't necessarily rely on her as being your healer, but she can heal a character. So that's pretty cool. And it also increases that particular character's turn meter by 20%. So basically she's there to increase everyone's speed, and whoever your main DPS is can get more attack and more turn meter. Now, if your main DPS is someone that scales off of HP or defense, this is not going to help, so you don't want to put her on a team like that. But if you're using a character that's attack-based when it comes to damage, she is a very, very strong support character to use. And of course, her first skill, again, doing more damage with a chance to give them vulnerability. Basically, this makes it to where the enemy takes more damage. But yeah, this character, the last SR that I actually used regularly before I actually had some SSRs and whatnot to use, she did wonders for my team. Like I said, the speed boosts, the debuffs, the buffs, I mean, she just does a little bit of everything as a support character with a little bit of healing, which again, I don't even really think about when I use her, but you know, she was definitely very special for my account. Now, we're going to go through some honorable mentions. I'm not going to really talk about her much. I did build her, but I found myself just not needing her. With Valerian, I just didn't need Dorothy. So that's why I never used her, because I just had someone else that could do good enough to keep me alive until I could build a good SSR support character. So this character just didn't get used, but I'm pretty sure she's pretty good. This character I've heard a lot of good things about, but I never pulled her for the longest time, which is why I never used her. I would have used her, but I simply did not pull her until honestly recently, maybe within the last couple of months, like 2 or 3 months ago is when I first pulled her, but I just never got her, to be perfectly honest. So this is one of those characters I would have used, but just didn't have the opportunity to. She was kind of cool, but I didn't see any use for her, so I would have never built her in anyway. Now this is the character that, if she had existed at launch, I would have built her to be like my sustain. Like, she is a healer, and she has a cool passive where if the amount that you heal goes beyond their max HP, whatever is overflowed becomes a shield. I love that mechanic a lot, and had she been an earlier character, I would have 100% fully built her and used her. Unfortunately, she just launched way too late. She didn't come out until like 3rd or 4th month of the game. And by then I already had like other sustains that were just better. But honestly, like, this is a character I 100% would have built if she came up sooner, for sure. But I'm not going to say a whole lot about her. Like I said, just her support would have been super strong in the early days.
What I want to eat?
And there's one other SR that I briefly want to shout out that I didn't get to use her.
Life is a cycle.
So when I played during the beta, I did have her and I did use her as my healer. But once the global launch happened, basically our accounts were wiped and we had to start over. And unfortunately, I didn't pull her for the longest time either. Like, I don't think I got her until like the 3rd month as well. So by the time I got her, she just wasn't necessary. But I would have built her because she was a healer that I believe could resurrect. Yeah, she could revive. So that was definitely an ability that most characters don't have in this game. Now, as far as how important revival is in this game, I couldn't tell you because I've never had the opportunity to really use it. I'm going to say that it's not necessary since I never needed it. So, you know, but I think that it's good if you're in a situation where you know your party is gonna get wiped every now and then, so she can help keep some of your teammates alive so that you keep the damage going. But like I said, I never really got the chance to use Revive, since I just never had any Revive characters for the longest time. Even, there's an SSR that exists that can revive as well. Let me see if I can find her real quick.
People who can write fairy tales.
I have her, but I just got her like recently. This girl right here. So apparently she can also revive, but I only pulled her like a few weeks ago. So I've never used her either. I have been slowly starting to build her, but I literally just got her. So I've never got to use the revive mechanic because I just never had the characters to do it. So I'm guessing revive is not a necessity. It's more of a luxury if you think you might need it. But going back to the SR characters, I think I basically discussed all of the SRs that I've used. Special shout out to Valerian and Overall. Like, those are the two characters as far as SRs that carried me the most in terms of DPS and survival. Those are definitely the two that I would consider an MVP. One other thing that I want to say about Valerian is that you can awaken her now. So if this is a character that you like too, you can awaken her and make her better. Now, I haven't done it yet. I'm gonna slowly start doing the event that lets you grind the materials to awaken her. So I will awaken her and try to see what the difference is, but that's gonna take a while, so don't expect a video on that for a few weeks, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now. Maybe I might make a video about her as far as awakening, because like I said, I barely just started the process with her, so I don't really have anything to say yet. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. I hope that this was helpful. Maybe if you're a new player and you're looking to know what are a few characters that might be worth building, if knowing that SSRs are going to take a while, think of some of these characters that I talked about and why I think they're good, and if you happen to pull them, build them up and hope you can do well. You know what I mean? And again, I wouldn't go hard on getting dupes. Like, I got these naturally as I played the game, so this isn't something that I would recommend you like going hardcore on. The only thing that I really recommend is just leveling them and maxing out their skill sets. So make sure you get all the lattices you need to get all their skills up. Those are really the most important things. As far as duplicates, I wouldn't stress over it. Just having one copy of the character is good enough. And if you happen to get dupes along the way, just consider it an added bonus. Because as you're doing pulls, you are going to be pulling dupes of SRs quite often. So that's why I'm telling you, don't waste your resources literally trying to get these dupes. Just get them naturally as you're pulling for other characters and you're good to go. You won't be missing out too much if you don't have a full set of a character. Like I said, just level them and get their lattices to up their ability. That's all you need to do. And of course, do your best to get some good modules and shells and stuff. And of course, what you're seeing right now was my old scuffed build from back in the day. I may update this build for whenever I do Awakener and stuff, but I'm just letting you know that even with not the best modules and shells, you can still build these SRs and they can still carry you. So I'm literally the example of that. Because I built the characters with what I had, and thankfully it got me through. So, if it worked for me, it can work for you. So if you're new to the game and you're having a hard time, not too sure what to do, while you're slowly building your SSR, whichever one you want to use, definitely build a few of these SRs to make sure they can carry you and get you through more content faster. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me rant. And we'll talk to you on a new episode of Pull That Waifu that's going to be coming out soon. I think we got a new one coming in less than a week. So look forward to that. Later.